We have a golden retriever who we love very much. She is our best friend. Our golden retriever was not always around though. For the first few years of her life, she lived in a shelter. No one wanted to adopt her because she was shy and timid. But that all changed when an elderly man named John came along. He took her home and gave her all the love and care she needed. And now she is the happiest dog in the world. John has always been there for her, so it's only fitting that she does the same for him. The old man has recently become quite ill and spends most of his days alone in bed. But he doesn't feel so lonely anymore since a furry little angel visits him every day. This dog became famous for being a good girl. People from all over the country are talking about her, and it's easy to see why. John didn't always live alone. In fact, he had a loving wife and children who cared for him deeply. However, they eventually moved away to pursue their own lives. At first, it was difficult for John to accept that his children were all grown up and had families of their own. It hurt him that they didn't want to spend their time with him, but he knew it was part of life and that he should be happy for them. John's wife, Mary, was his rock during this time. She told him that it was normal for parents to feel left behind when their children grew up. But she also reminded him that he was loved and that he would always be in their hearts. Unfortunately, Mary passed away a few years later from cancer. John was heartbroken when this happened, but he knew that she was in a better place now. Since then, John had spent most of his time alone. Sure, he could call his kids or grandkids whenever he wanted to, but he never did. It wasn't because he was angry at them or felt they had abandoned him. John simply didn't know how to use a phone. The old man was never tech savvy and never really had a reason to learn. But this became a big problem for him when he was left alone. The neighbors tried to help John out by bringing him food and checking up on him every once in a while. But no one could be there for him all the time. That's why they were so surprised when a golden retriever started showing up at his house every day. John had no idea where the dog came from or how it found him. He was just happy to have some company. The dog would come over in the morning and sit by John's bed until he went to sleep. Then it would leave and come back the next day. John named her Honey because she was as sweet as honey. The dog quickly became John's best friend, and he looked forward to seeing her every day. One day, one of John's neighbors saw the dog in his yard and decided to follow her. She wanted to find out where the dog came from and return her to her owner. But she soon realized that the dog didn't belong to anyone. It was a stray. The woman decided to keep following the dog, and eventually it led her to a pet store. The woman couldn't believe what she saw next. It turned out that the dog was being fed by one of the employees. The woman asked the employee if she knew where the dog lived, and she said yes. She told the woman that the dog belonged to an old man who lived a few houses down. She also said that the dog would come here every day to get food. The woman was puzzled. Why would the dog go to the pet store every day if it already had food at home? She decided to follow the dog back to the old man's house, and she soon found out the answer. When she got to the house, she saw the old man sitting on the porch. He was thin and frail and looked like he hadn't eaten in days. The woman knocked on the door and introduced herself. She asked the old man if he needed any help, and he said yes. The woman helped the old man inside and then went to check on the dog. She noticed that it had a collar, so she put it on and started walking it around the block. As they walked, she talked to the dog, and it seemed to be happy to have someone to play with. The woman took the dog back to the old man's house and then left. The next day, the woman came back with some food and water for the dog. She also brought some medicine for the old man. She had talked to his family, and they had agreed to let her help him out. The woman continued to visit the old man and the dog every day. She would bring them food, water, and medicine, and she would play with the dog. The old man's health slowly began to improve. He started eating more, and his skin looked less wrinkled. The woman was so happy to see this that she continued to visit him every day. The woman had no idea that she was about to make a huge discovery. One day she was playing with the dog when she noticed a small bump on its back. She wasn't sure what it was, so she decided to take the dog to the vet. The vet examined the bump and told the woman that it was a microchip. He inserted a special tool under the dog's skin and retrieved the chip. He then took the chip to a special machine that would allow him to scan it. When the vet scanned the chip, he found out that the dog had a name and an owner. The vet gave the woman the information and she thanked him. She then raced home, excited to tell the old man that his dog had finally been identified. When she got to the old man's house, she knocked on the door and introduced herself. The old man opened the door and invited her in. The woman sat down next to the old man and told him what she had found out. The old man's eyes lit up with joy. He couldn't believe that his dog had a name and an owner. He immediately got up and went to the phone. He called the number on the microchip and soon enough, a young couple picked up. It turned out that the dog belonged to the couple. They had lost her a few months ago and had been searching for her ever since. The couple was overjoyed to hear that their dog had been found. They thanked the woman and the old man and then hung up the phone. The woman was so happy that the dog had been found, but she couldn't help but feel sad that it meant she wouldn't see it anymore. The old man noticed her sadness and asked her what was wrong. She explained to him that she was sad because she wouldn't see the dog anymore. The old man understood and hugged her. He thanked her for taking care of his dog and promised that he would visit her often. And that's exactly what he did. Every day he would go to the couple's house and tell them all about the amazing dog. He even brought them some of the dog's food so they could feed her. The couple was so grateful for the old man's help, and they often invited him over for dinner. As the weeks went by, the old man became close friends with the couple and their dog. He loved spending time with them and playing with the dog. He was so happy that he had found such good friends. News of the old man and the dog quickly spread throughout the town, and soon people from all over the country were talking about them. People were amazed by the dog's loyalty and the old man's kindness. They also praised the woman for her quick thinking and compassion. The old man, the dog, and the woman became local heroes and were often invited to appear on TV shows. The old man was especially excited about this. He loved telling people about his amazing dog and the importance of being kind to animals. In the end, everyone was happy with how things turned out. The old man had found a loyal companion in the dog. The couple had found their beloved pet, and the woman had made a real difference in all of their lives. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.